Alright, so in today's video, I just have a little montage for you all, seeing as the year is coming to a close, and this is a YouTube tradition as a YouTuber that I must follow. The lowest effort video production. A montage of already created videos. I love my job. But in today's video, I have my 5 absolute most favorite videos I've made in the past year, all in one absolute peak content. So I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you all in the new year with more platinums on the way. Alright, so today I chose to platinum Far Cry 5, which is undoubtedly the best-selling and best Far Cry game in general. And if you disagree, you're just wrong. Anyways, Far Cry 5 has a grand total of 51 trophies, including the platinum. And it is also one of the easiest and most enjoyable platinum trophies I've ever gotten in my entire life. Stage 1 of the platinum trophy is to, as usual, just beat the main story without having to worry about any missable trophies on the way. So the game first opens up with a created characters scene, and I honest to God thought it was just a loading screen, so I sat there for a few minutes or two waiting for something to happen. Yeah, we are off to a great start. Anyways, it really begins with a good old classic cutscene giving us some plot into what this game is all about. Basically, Far Cry 5 surrounds Joseph Seed, who is a cult leader working out of the Montana countryside. This might be the only cool thing to ever happen in Montana if we are being honest, so I can't even hate on the guy. Religions are great for the economy. And apparently Ubisoft also loves giving me gifts because these damn things were on my screen the entire intro of the game. But anyways, Joseph Seed has basically taken over Montana with his cult, and it's like kind of a big deal. They even gave him a statue. Our good old President Joseph Kids Biden doesn't even have a statue. Now that's crazy. You play as Rookie, who is named that because he is a rookie and this is your first job in the police force. So you squad up with the local sheriff, a federal agent, and a woman to ease the gay allegations. We made it into the church where Joseph was giving a sermon or something. I'm not sure why he has his shirt off, but I guess it frees the soul, who knows. Long story short, he has obviously done criminal things like starting a cult, for example, so we had a warrant for his arrest and took him back to our helicopter, which seconds later would get taken down out of the sky from, you don't want to know, it's disgusting. Once we were crash landed though, pretty much nobody died, which is kind of surprising. Maybe the Lord truly is with us after all.
That's what I'm saying.
In fact, I think Joseph was chatting him up on the radio before leaving me and the federal agent to burn in the chopper. This next part of the game has a classic Far Cry staple where you run through the forest away from people. Remind you of any other good Far Cry games? I'm talking about Far Cry 3 if you couldn't guess, you idiot. We also did do some stealth, and yeah, stealth isn't my expertise, but I did meet up with the Fed again, and then we really put a stand up against these shirtless hillbillies. Eventually, I ended up riding in a car with the federal agent away from everything, and we got chased again. But it all got put to an end when the car blew up over the side of a bridge, and I became drowned. Somehow, some way though, a man saved me, and he looks kind of scary. I think I want to go back into the water now. A few minutes later, we did end up waking back into life and seeing the savior of our life. Turns out it was just some nutjob survivalist who lives on an island. Only in Montana, I swear to God. But this man is also the overseer or narrator for like all of our main story missions and stuff. Basically, he is the radio guy telling us to go places, so that's cool. In this entire first story section, all consisted on his island, retaking it over and turning back on all of his radio towers so he can get signal again. But after I did all of those mini intro tutorial missions, my final exam was to climb a tall ass tower and flip on the signal he needed. Once I did, the guy also unlocked the map for me, which is a giant help. And he also explained that there is 4 territories in the game: Jacob, John, Faith, and then Joseph's, who is the final boss, so his territory is only accessible once you complete the other ones. And I got a trophy after all of that because we have officially graduated the Far Cry 5 intro. Holy sh**. The next objective is to reach Fall's End, which is the first main establishment inside of John's settlement or area. On the way there, since it is pretty deep inside of the territory, I did end up stopping for lots of little side quests here and there, which were all fun, and did contribute to us gaining control over John's. This also gave me some supplies and money I hadn't yet had, so I quickly upgraded my bow with everything I could because this bow is one of my favorite things to use in the game, and that was also a trophy. So I can't wait to now miss every shot with my maxed out bow and arrow. I love capitalism. A bit later, I ended up capturing an enemy outpost, and after it turned into a citizen's outpost again, I got a side quest there which had me redo their entire farm's irrigation system. This is why they say I'm a man of all trades, but once I did that quest, it also ended up being my 3rd side quest finished, and I got another trophy. The story then led me to some guy's airfield that was completely under attack from the enemy, so I of course had to clear them all out with my god tier aim and combat intelligence. I then chatted up this guy who represents exactly what I imagined Montana men probably look like, and he gave me the next main story story mission, which was to steal this bomber plane so he can get his family out of Dodge. Stealing the plane wasn't that bad, by the way, and I managed to get it very fast. I then also had to take it on some little course to make sure it was still functional. I even had to blow up some totally not innocent people. But it did give me a trophy, so who cares what they did or did not do. Nick is that hillbilly's name, by the way, and back at home, he had an intense chat with his lesbian wife. Not sure if they wanted to do this alone or not, but I just stood there and watched it all. My favorite. Anyways, after their chat, I got another trophy for doing those missions. Later on, I had a main story quest which made me plant some bombs and then defend them from loads of incoming attackers. I'm not gonna lie, I did die, but like only a few times, so it's okay. And after I finally survived the assault and the mines blew up, I gained enough control to have 1/3 of John's territory recaptured. Now, of course, this isn't good, so he sent a capture party after me. This is basically the game's way of saying you're about to get captured and there's nothing you can do about it. How wonderful. Basically though, I woke up inside of John's bunker all tied up with the lady from the game's intro, and he pranced around threatening us with torture essentially. I got out of course because I have plot armor, but even though I really rallied up his workforce, John still had the upper hand and took the girl away from us through the window as we watched. He also released chemicals into this place, which was neat, and I got a trophy also from all of that nonsense. And that's basically a sum of what this game's story flow is like. You get X amount of main story missions in each territory that give XP towards this little progress bar, and you also need to do side quests to bump it up all the way. And when you reach those little landmarks, usually something cool happens, like getting drugged. What a game, I must say. But the next trophy I got was from liberating 5 outposts total, which are the main side quest that helps you progress the story without playing the story. It makes sense, okay? It does. About 2 hours later, I was then left tickling the 100% takeover of John's land, and I tipped over the edge by doing some random ass side quest that once completing gave me a trophy for reaching that full takeover I was talking about. So now John wants to meet us, and by that he means he has all of our friends hostage and is basically making it so we have to confront his white ass. Instantly, I got dropped. Not a surprise. So we ended up in yet again another church with John, Nick, and this woman. Also a shirtless pastor. God, I love this game. Oh my god! John's job, by the way, is to just get people to join the cult, so he pretty much tried to make us join. Nick got peer pressured, which was sad to see. However, I am not such a weak man as he is, and I refused not once, but like 6 times until a gun fell out of some guy's hand, and then hell got let loose into the room and surrounding block. We then had to chase John back to another church, only to see him get in a plane and fly away. So I, of course, had to get in my own plane and go after him. There was then a very epic fight in the air, which was low-key sick, I can't lie. I ended up blowing his plane like a sinful college girl, and he was just falling slowly out of the sky. So I, of course, flew down with him, but I also shot him mid-air. Not sure if that's bad fight etiquette, but I don't really care. And that was the end of John as we watched him die on the ground. But that actually wasn't it for John's storyline, because if you can remember, he took away this girl from us a while ago, and she still is indeed locked up, which is why we had to break in and also just destroy the entire place. I legit love this game, I'm not gonna lie. Although they could have made her a bit prettier, but beggars can't be choosers. The women in Montana are all in cults. Oh yeah, and we also got a trophy after saving her and ending the John storyline. Next, we headed over to the right into Faith's territory. Her whole thing, by the way, is like hypnosis, and these flowers make you trip balls, basically. Overall, it's very annoying because you can just get knocked out by them and stolen, but she is kind of hot, so it's okay. And the next trophy I got here was from doing a puzzle with this contaminated water at the water treatment plant. I had to use my last 3 brain cells for this, by the way, which is why they gave me a trophy after I did it. Much later in her territory, I was literally just minding my own business, and sure, I had taken over a good portion of her area, but the lady just showed up and took me on a damn ride. This is exactly the type of shit that I imagine would happen if I ever took edibles and got a bad trip. Just nuclear disasters. I did get a trophy after all of the free brain movies got done, though. And I actually got another trophy like 10 minutes after once I completed this side quest called Saving Peaches the Cougar. No, not Grandma, an actual cougar who was domesticated and is now one of our companions in the game. How nice. I also got 25 close combat kills later on when doing more activities in the game, getting my XP up, and I finally tipped past the 3rd landmark on the progress bar after a few more outposts, which again led this woman to just jump on into my brain. I seriously don't know how she keeps doing this, but the federal agent was here also, and I think he might be getting mixed signals. This was a very subtle sus boat ride. Hell, we even woke up next to each other after the trip was over. What the hell is going on right now? Yeah, so she pretty much just kept doing that and not actually battling us until the very end of her character arc, where the goal is to now confront her. I'm afraid of women though, so it was a hard challenge to do this. But we ended up getting a full-blown boss fight against Faith, and there was even a little itty-bitty arena for us to fight her in. And I gotta give it to Faith. That girl can take it. Like, she just would not die. Until she did, or I guess until she wanted to go for a swim? Question mark?
We don't know what the hell is going on right now.
Anyways, we then escaped the bad trip finally, and it's my job to now destroy the production of Bliss entirely. Bliss is the drug, by the way, if you're dumb. And I got a trophy here for crafting a lot of items. A true Far Cry classic. Oh yeah, I also blew the whole place up, and there was even fireworks. It was crazy. You should have been there. After though, Joseph had to be a party pooper and ruin it by giving us a monologue with some very good lighting choices, might I add. Bro was looking like Joji in 2020.
That's what I'm saying.
After that, I got the Faith storyline trophy, by the way. So now it's time to move over to the final area before the conclusion of the game at Joseph's compound. Jacob's territory. His whole thing is all about hypnosis with like songs and crap. So honestly, it's a lot like what we just went through with Faith, but instead of drugs, it's just the whimsical enjoyment of song and dance. During the first questline I got here while I was scoping out the enemies below, I ended up dropping one from over 150 meters with a headshot using this sniper thing I had, and got a trophy. A bit later on, after I reached the first landmark in Jacob's progress bar, I was just chilling in the road and an arrow came out of heaven right into my leg. This then put me under, and we get to go experience Jacob's wrath, just like how he did with the other previous two. This time, however, Jacob has a much more different approach. Instead of real life torture, he just does it all in the mind. And I did like a little target course that had a time limit on it. This is also the same course we will be doing for the entirety of Jacob's questline. Once completed this first time, you wake up and see that everyone is dead except you. Hard to believe, right? Yeah, these people thought so also. And after we got saved by them, the trophy popped after all that crap. I then walked over to these nice people's leader and talked to him, which was also the 50th survivor I've talked to in the game, and got another trophy just for that. I didn't receive any more trophies for quite some time though, because the story is very dry in terms of trophies, but there was a main story mission that had us go into a cabin and just place bombs all over it and then run away watching it explode. Not only was that a great time for everyone involved, but it also gave us a trophy for blowing up in each region in the game. I did end up finally taking over Jacob's reign finally, and I actually did these last few missions all with one of my friends on PlayStation, just to get ready for those online trophy stage after this. But Jacob's final part had a lot of weird boss fight things going on. Most of it was all fake though, and not in reality. However, once we did reach the real world again and sobered up, the job is to now take him down. And I swear to God, this man was invincible because I knocked him with my sniper numerous times and he just kept on getting up. Anyways, we got him eventually, and then watched as he gave us his final words before dying. Oh, and I got a trophy for finishing 3 quests with another player. But again, this wasn't the end of Jacob's questline quite yet, because we still had to go to his bunker and blow it all up like with the previous people. But after that, and another Joseph Seed speech, the trophy did pop finally. And now it's time to go do the final mission of the game with Joseph Seed himself. Fun fact, you actually have to do 0 work for the endings of this game. You literally just fast travel there, and then the last few cutscenes play. You were also posed with an option to pretty much just leave Joseph alone, or to not and cause more conflict. At first I chose to just leave because the dude is crazy and I kind of like him, so we just drove away, no worries. That is until the song started playing on the radio from Jacob's hypnosis, and it's assumed that the main character killed everyone. But that's not the real ending. Oh no, the real ending just has everyone getting nuked, so it's a similar outcome, to be honest. And there is the final story trophy for Far Cry 5. So the next stage on the trophy guide is to actually just clean up miscellaneous things, but I chose to do the online play next to switch up the vibes. And huge shout out to this homie right here for knowing the best maps and having them for the online trophies, because if you don't boost these, it can be extremely tedious to get. The first online trophy I did get, however, was from getting 100 kills on enemy players, and I did it all with a shovel, so how about that? Me and the homie then kept on playing that map a few more times until reaching 10 matches won within featured maps inside of arcade multiplayer. After that, we also did 10 matches inside of solo or co-op featured maps, which are different from the previous thing because the game says so. But hey, I did get a trophy. Next online trophy is then gotten from just playing 5 of the arcade hero maps. These are, I think, solely community made, and you can literally just die and restart 5 times on the same one to get the trophy. So yeah, that was easy. However, the final online trophy, which is gotten from reaching XP level level 20 wasn't quite so easy, but honestly it's not bad at all. I just played this one like old school eliminate enemies level over and over, and it gave a lot of XP every time, so eventually I got to level 20 and was all good. Now it's the final stage for the platinum, and I have to go back and just get every single other trophy inside of the solo campaign. And there's actually quite a few trophies left, so the day isn't quite over yet, ladies and gentlemen. First, I did the last side quest with Nick and his wife from the beginning of the game because she has been undergoing child labor the entire time I've been blowing up the world. But her side quest had us just drive to the midwife's house while chaos occurs all around. This baby might be Jesus. Who knows? And there's the trophy pop after the quest conclusion. I then did another character-specific side quest with some crazy science hillbilly. You literally have 3 missions for this guy, and it's all just to power up and help him build a machine to like teleport him or something. And it works, so I can't even hate on the brother. There's the trophy. My next trophy in the list was then the one gotten from completing every single hunting and fishing challenge in the game. And the hunting part is actually way harder than the fish part because the areas where animals show up on the map are almost never guaranteed. And sometimes you have to run around for 10 to 20 minutes before one spawns in. Before getting all of them done though, I went on a spending splurge and bought 3 cars total in the game for a trophy that I didn't know existed. Anyways, about 20 minutes after that, I did finish all of the fishing challenges and got that trophy. I then had to do 3 plunder quests next, which are another type of side quests where the only thing you really do is find a bunch of money hidden away. So W, I guess I can't complain. Next, I had to complete a Clutch Nixon event in every area of the game, but it's really just the 3 major territories. These are literally just cracked out American Nightmare feel where you race cars, planes, and boats through fire rings and have American music playing the whole time. Overall, it probably raised my testosterone levels, and I feel more like a man, I can't lie. I then got 2 fast trophies next. First for spending over 50 grand inside of the garage, and another for buying at least half the skill points in the game total. I then had to dive underwater to the bottom of this lake to find the very last collectible type I have yet to get. And I honestly can't remember what it's really called, but it was a barrel. I also then farmed vehicle explosions with Herc, who is my favorite character in Far Cry 5. The man just screams American, if you know what I mean. But you can do this by just spawning in vehicles from the garage and then having him blow it up right away. So next up, I was then going for the record fish weight on every fish basically, since each territory of the game has like their own high score and stuff. Basically, you gotta beat all of these weights on screen right now, which is actually not hard at all if you fish in the hard locations on the map. Before getting them all though, I sold a ton of fish and got a trophy from that. And then a half hour later, I got the last weight record, which after fast traveling back to a territory's capital, the trophy pops. I then did an easy trophy from spending over $1,000 in the clothing store. I did this all, by the way, on a cursed dog mask. I now understand why enemies shoot on sight. I would probably do the same. I then farmed another vehicle destruction trophy, but this time it was on planes being destroyed by other aerial vehicles. And you can of course just keep spawning them in, so it's not hard whatsoever. The next trophy I went after, however, was insanely more difficult. It's gotten from running over 15 enemies with vehicles. Sounds simple, right? Well, the enemies in this game are all built like Lizzo, because even if you hit one, they almost always will not die and just ragdoll, then stand up like nothing happened. I guess prayer might be the answer after all. But I did end up at this one cult outpost and found a tractor that had a damn meat grinder on the front of it, which instant kills enemies. So not only did I get the tractor kill trophy with this method, I also got the vehicle kill trophy in addition. God damn, I wish I knew that was a thing an hour ago. Oh, and after that I had yet again another useless vehicle destruction trophy, but this time it was from blowing up 4 vehicles at once with an aerial bomb. And that's literally impossible if you don't spawn in vehicles to do it on, so thank God you can. Sadly, we have reached the Far Cry Classic trophy, which has you distract 15 enemies with rocks. This is in like literally every single Far Cry trophy list, and it's always complete ass. This game being no exception, and this took me 40 minutes to do. I definitely tricked like 50 enemies, but whatever, I did get the trophy. I then got another for gliding 5,000 meters with a wingsuit, and punching the shit out of a bull and a bison. The drugs are insane, let me tell you. So the final trophy I needed to get before the platinum is called Explosive Surprise. And if it's not called that, I'm sorry. But it's gotten from sabotaging vehicles and then blowing up 5 enemies with it. The best place to do this is at Joseph's compound after the story, because this one dude is always there next to a truck. So you just gotta sneak in, do the sabotage, and wait for it to blow up, and the trophy is all yours. And there's the platinum pop right after. So that was the Far Cry 5 platinum trophy experience. Honestly, I love this game. It's one of the few that I didn't despise the entire time playing it, and both the story and graphics were amazing. My only complaint is that it's so short. I platinumed the game within a playtime of 14 hours according to PlayStation. I do think that's a little wrong though, because it was more around 18, but still, that's insanely short. So yeah, putting it at a rating out of 10, I'm gonna give Far Cry 5 a solid 9. God damn, that was a good game. I finally managed to get my hands on a copy of Minecraft Story Mode, even though it has been removed from stores since all the way back in 2018. And I also got scammed last week in receiving a false copy, as we all know in this video. But after spending 80 fat ones for the complete edition, it actually came, and I got every single trophy in the game. Although only the first 5 episodes are needed for the platinum, I decided to do all 8 just so I could not feel so bad about having to pay so much for this godforsaken illegal game. Minecraft Story Mode has a total of 51 trophies with the platinum, and 2 missable trophies as a matter of fact, which is kind of unique for a Telltale game to have. It also does take another partial playthrough after, but we will get to that eventually. So before beginning the first episode, I actually just sat there and enjoyed the menu music because it's about as nostalgic as it gets, and I love it. Oh my god! Anyways, there was then a little cutscene expose showing off the Order of the Stone members, who are these so-called heroes inside of the Minecraft world that everyone essentially worships like gods. But then the game really begins, and the first chapter of the game opens up basically just exposing us to the core main characters of the story, that being Jesse, who we play as, and Olivia and Axel, who are our friends within the game. Also, you can't forget about Ruben, who is Jesse's pet pig and a very critical character of the story, of course. We also got to go through a training sequence in preparation for EnderCon, which is this big event hosted every year within the Minecraft world where we are, and we also entered ourselves into a building competition within the event. Anyways, during the building contest we entered into, the group decided upon making a giant enderman that shoots fireworks out of it, and one of the opposing teams, called the Ocelots, were super jealous of us, so the jerk on their team, who was like our #1 op the entire game, pretty much just tried to burn it down with lava that also got onto Ruben and sent him running away squealing, literally. I was then posed with the option to go after Ruben alone or with friends, and I chose to go alone in order to save the build so we could get that sweet W. And I also got my first trophy of the game right here. The next chapter then just kind of continued on right after, and we were searching for Ruben in the woods, only to find him eventually all fine and not cooked pork chop. However, then a bunch of zombies just pulled up and tried to kill us, and it definitely didn't help that our swords snapped in the middle of fighting them here. But right when the end was nearing, another side character friend shows up to save us, named Petra. We then followed her into the mines of which she lives in, I think, and she also let us in on a little secret she had. Petra here is doing an illegal trade at EnderCon with a wither skull for a diamond with some shady individual. And we're just looking for our pet pig. Ah, social classes, how beautiful. But then I also got forced to make a sword so I have something to defend myself with, and instead I made a lever because it was a trophy. We then just headed to EnderCon, but on this bridge a bunch of monsters showed up again, and I'm starting to think they're paid actors. But a trophy popped after we fell into the water in such glorious fashion, might I add. Chapter 3 then had us basically just do that deal with the shady man that Petra was intending to have happen. Sadly, the shady man, whose name is Ivor, scammed us. Not sure what we really expected from a dark alley deal, but it is what it is, I guess. Petra didn't like that mindset, however, so then the rest of the chapter contained us trying to find the evil dude and get back the wither skull that he basically stole. We ended up watching him go to Gabriel's meet and greet building. Gabriel is the famous hero from the Order of the Stone, by the way, but we didn't have tickets to get into the meet and greet, so we had to find a way to distract the guard and get past. I decided to use chickens to do this by getting a slime block and doing some pretty nuts parkour into the chicken coop because the guard was deathly afraid of chickens, and they said cock couldn't kill. I also received another trophy once entering the building and getting past the guard right here. We then went looking for Ivor, who was the dude we were after, and we found his secret library lab underground, which had some pretty damning things in it, like this wither skeleton spawn with a command block thrown at its heart basically. He then walked on in and was about to find us hiding, so I jumped out to surprise him first. Ivor knew he couldn't take us all, however, so he just spawned in an iron golem that basically kicked us out for good. A bit later, Ivor then showed up in the middle of one of Gabriel's speeches and then spawned the wither in. The rest of the chapter then had the wither storm essentially just destroy everything and anything as we ran to Gabriel's temple to hide and get to the nether portal to escape the wither storm. Long story short, everyone made it to the nether aside from Gabriel and Petra. It is also now our goal to find our way out of the nether, and I got a trophy for that chapter's ending. Getting out of the nether, however, was not a challenge because you can quite literally just ride the minecarts to the Order of the Stone put here to the next nether portal, which is an exit to the real world. Very simple. However, once in the real world again, we ended up making a treehouse for some shelter for the night, even though it has no roof, and we got rained on. I guess they like it wet, you know what I'm saying? Next up, when it was daytime, we quite literally looked down the hill, and there was the Order of Stone's temple just rotting away right by us. So naturally, we entered it, and it was not surprisingly packed full of traps to stop us from continuing on with life. But we did continue on and ultimately made it to the roof of the place, which is where things get really spicy. Because up here was a giant map, which once figuring out the amulet's puzzle, it shines light fights wherever the Order members are at. And the only two available on the map right now were Magnus the TNT expert and Ellegaard the Redstone expert. Now actually I had to pick one of them to get for help, and I chose to do Ellegaard since I thought someone with brains would be of assistance in a dire situation that we are in. Anyways, we then had to go back through the Nether to get to Ellegaard, and it was actually a super short trip with very minor combat situations halting us. So here's another trophy once we made it to Ellegaard City. And upon arrival, she stated that she is going into a locked room to think essentially forever. So we literally just missed our last chance to talk to her, which is why then I had to go pester a ton of civilians trying to make unique redstone contraptions in an effort to get picked to speak with Ellegaard. And I had to steal one of their redstone repeaters so I could fix the staircase circuit and get up to Ellegaard. I did just that, by the way, with some great time lying and overall genius. And then we made it into Ellegaard's lab essentially, and upon meeting her I had to cosplay as an assistant for a little bit, but not too long because nobody pulled out a camcorder, so we are safe. Sadly though, Ellegaard was on the fence for a while about our predicament with the Wither Storm killing everyone, and she didn't quite believe us. But when it showed up, I think she got a bit more convinced, and we ran out of town back to the portal with her. That portal then took us back to the main base, and none other than Petra was here. Also, Axel got Magnus on his own, which is impressive considering he's a retard. But then that big map ended up showing us both Ivor the evil dude and Soren the architect on the map. Soren is also key to the story, by the way, because he's another genius, so it's now our job to find him before Ivor does. And once we made it to his place in the mountaintops nearby, I got another trophy. We then quite literally just walked on in, and it was pretty cool, I can't lie. But then Magnus and Ellegaard had a falling out kind of immediately, and we were left on our own with another trophy. Oh yeah, we also ran into Ivor here as you would expect, and there was a long battle with him until he ultimately just threw down a slow potion, and we were left watching as he walked away victorious. But we got a trophy, so take that, Ivor. Next, once the slow potion wore off, I eventually found out that you can use the amulet to track the Order members' positions even in person when it glows more. So the gang followed the amulet's glow right down into a mob spawner, and there was basically chaos for multiple minutes until we all fell down into it and got sucked away to the collecting room with another trophy pop. And the monsters didn't stop there because they were everywhere down here also. And our best solution to this was to jump into the end portal to escape them. How genius. We then just walked through the end after Soren because he was also down here, and left a very obvious staircase to the next building. And once we climbed to the top of it, I got another trophy. Inside this new building, there was basically a room modeled after the normal world and very creepy to just have. But there was also a puzzle to open this wall and continue on that I did, which involved me just flipping some levers. We then made it to the real lab of Soren's that he has here, and I also did a trophy from talking to Ruben so many times that he got tired of me and told a joke to get rid of me. Very odd trophy, I'm not gonna lie. But the rest of this chapter had me pretending to be an Enderman inside of Soren's study that he has. Sadly, the Enderman didn't believe it as good as I thought they would, and to save me, Soren dropped my ass. Tough love. Tough love. We then did get a chance to chat with him for a while though, and sort of get him on our side and agree to help us save the world. But then the Enderman decided that they didn't like us and started chasing after us trying to kill. But I got a trophy, it's fine. Next chapter then had us trying to escape the Enderman, as you could guess. And once we did and made it back to the real world, it was then just normal enemies. But Soren still had time to craft the super TNT that we needed to try and take down the Wither Storm. And also more Endermen showed up right before the ending of the chapter, but we got away, it's fine. Oh, the next chapter actually just had us fight the Wither Storm after all. The super TNT worked like a charm and blew up, killing the Wither Storm. What a W for the good guys. Sadly, the command block remained unscathed after the dust settled, and the Wither Storm actually wasn't dead. But here's that trophy from the chapter anyway. The following chapter then had us literally just run away to safety the entire time, and I think if anything we just pissed off and made the Wither Storm stronger if we were being honest. The next chapter was then a team building chapter, as I like to call them, but it just had us chat with everyone, and in my opinion was a bit boring. But at the end it had us set off towards Ivor's secret base in the far lands of the world. Very interesting place to choose to live, almost like choosing to live in Chicago. But once we made it to the far lands, I can't lie, it was pretty badass. The next chapter was then pretty long, but essentially just had us actually go to Ivor's place, find his secret lab down here, and also we got Soren to tell us the truth behind the Order of the Stone, since all of the Ender Dragon crystals are still intact down here on display. And we would find out that the Order of the Stone is basically a bunch of phonies who use that Witherstorm command block to just snap the Ender Dragon out of existence. So lame. Oh yeah, Ivor also showed up finally, and to make us feel better about being lied to all game, we got to pick a new piece of armor and weapon for free. I love coping. But then it was basically time to fight the Witherstorm again now that we had insane armor and weapons to do so. And the strategy in killing it this time was just launching me up onto the Wither Storm so I could get close to the command block. And once I was inside, getting to the command block and destroying it wasn't even that hard, to be honest. However, sadly, right before the final strike on it, Ruben was about to get eaten by a wither head, and in my effort to save him, he slipped and fell. But he might be fine, right? So then I did do the final strike on the Wither Storm and saved the day. We also found Ruben right next to the battle site, and he looks totally fine, man. He's just got a little scratch on him. Oh shit. Anyways, to wrap up this episode, we then kind of became the new Order of the Stone since we saved the day legitimately instead of whatever the hell they were doing before, and I got this trophy. But the game isn't quite over because there is still 4 more episodes left, which I'm not gonna lie, in my opinion, these did not have to be a thing. I personally love the Witherstorm story arc and think this game was great without these last episodes, but they are a part of the game, so I did have to do them. Essentially, each episode just had a random ass plot to them that all sort of tied into the grand theme at the end, but it didn't really work in my opinion. Anyways, episode 5 was all about these glowing enchanted flint and steels I found at some temple, and then Aiden and the Ocelots from the first episode also showed up here to take them back. They also became like the main villains of episode 5 out of nowhere. It was kind of odd, but basically those flint and steels can be used to open portals to other worlds, and they took us along with Aiden and his evil friends to a new world in the sky. This world in the sky, by the way, has an artifact called the Everclear or something in it. Oh yeah, and by the way, we're also criminals on the run here because we accidentally built to get to the island, which is supposedly illegal. And there was thankfully an underground build club here though that hid us in it like it's the damn Underground Railroad, so we were chilling. Aiden and all of them did show up finally though with the Sky City founder, and Aiden also took this as his perfect time to turn on the founder, and he knocked both of us off the island. Thankfully there was water below, so it's fine, and we climbed back up. I then got to battle Aiden in a 1v1 on a beam overhanging the void, which reminded me so much of Star Wars, it was great. I was also posed with the option to mercy Aiden, but I just kicked him off the edge like a total jerk, and I'd do it again. That then basically ended the episode with Sky City falling, pretty much because of how many monsters were on it. But now the citizens are free to do anything they want on real ground, so it's a win at the end of the day. And with the finish of episode 5, that was also the last episode needed for the platinum because the next 3 are all DLC, which I didn't know when making this video, so I accidentally did them all. Please subscribe. Episode 6 first opened with us going to a mansion in the middle of the woods that asked us to come to it and is totally not evil. There was then a huge plot that began with a bunch of YouTubers being in the game on the next chapter, and also a murder mystery much like the game Clue or the movie Knives Out. Overall, this episode was kind of fun because of the YouTubers in it, but also it's just completely random, and the main reason why I didn't like these extra episodes, they just felt so unneeded. I mean, the game really ended in episode 4, so I see now why some folk don't like Minecraft story mode. It does have a lot of nonsense in it, to be honest. But long story short, after many chapters and trophies, we found out that the red hair girl did it. Always them weird bitches, bro, I swear. However, the next episode, episode 7, had an even more random ass story. We went through yet again another portal and ended up in a world controlled by a computer that is evil and can also take control of any creature by just putting these little devices on your head. And this is also when I found out that I didn't need to play these because I was low-key checking that list to see if I had to, and obviously I found out that I didn't have to play them, but at this point I was too far in it though, so I had to finish. I couldn't hang up the controllers now. Anyways, this episode's story can be summed up like this. The evil computer's weakness is water, so we poured water on its components and smashed its redstone heart to shut it down, saving everyone in the town. Typical hero moment. But I did have one more episode to get through so I could finish off this game for good. Episode 8. Arguably better than the previous 2, and the only one I could actually see needing to exist because it kind of tied into things, but also not really. Essentially, we met an old builder in the previous episode, which is kind of like this sacred building society or something, I don't know. But then we went to the old builder's world to confront them and ask for the Atlas so we could find our portal back home. The Atlas is like a cheat code to find the portal that you need, pretty much. And the old builders are all jerks, so they didn't want to give it up, and then we just went on for like an hour-and-a-half long journey of doing classic Minecraft minigames for the old builders' amusement until ultimately battling them and winning, saving the day and letting everyone who has been enslaved by them to be free. So here's that final episode trophy, and we're still missing one. Yeah, I had to go back and redo the first 2 episodes of the game, which took me 2 hours, and I almost cried. I want to cry now. And I had to do all of that just so I could choose to find Magnus first before Eligard for a trophy from, well, that. Anyways, I got it, and the Platinum Trophy. So that was the Minecraft Story Mode Platinum Trophy experience. As a kid, I'm not gonna lie, this game slapped. As an adult with much more things in my mind and more ADHD thoughts, I didn't really see the exact amount of fun in this game as I did years ago. I think it's because Minecraft Story Mode is both super slow and super fast at very different moments, which makes the game feel very dragged out, yet still somehow somewhat good. I think the developers really could have done with scrapping numerous chapters and episodes entirely to make this game more engaging, but that's just me. Overall, I'm still going to give Minecraft Story Mode a solid 7 out of 10. Great game for the first 4 episodes. We will talk about the final ones. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all with more soon. My balls are sweating right now. Alright, so today I chose to platinum the Avengers game. This is one of the biggest flops of a game in history, most notably because everyone kind of hated it when it released, so much so that it has been ripped from stores and you can only get it online for resale now. Much like the Minecraft story mode games, except nobody wants this game, so I got it for like 20 bucks. I am so happy right now. Anyways, the trophies in this game are also extremely grindy and buggy, both of what you can find out when you look at the trophy list. Just red flags everywhere. But today I did get the platinum trophy and I'm going to show you all just how I did it. The game is a total of 51 trophies inside, taking on average 80 hours to complete. The first stage is to just beat the game, seeing as there really isn't any missables in the story, but after playing this all through, I can confidently say that collecting the occasional audio file or collectible scattered around the game is a great idea, because that is a trophy that can get very grindy if you miss some. However, aside from that, you just have to endure this game's wondrously odd story. It follows a girl named Kamala, which isn't the best name choice with current events, but this girl also has some of the most cringe dialogue and story direction ever, which really makes this game just feel like another Disney Marvel flop. But you're attending an Avengers exclusive meet and greet as they get ready to announce this new world of sustainable energy and power source that they have been cooking up in the lab like Walter White in his meth trailer. You also do get to meet every Avenger while just doing the mini games needed for the story, which is very weird. They literally just appear out of the shadows like a comment saying, "I pay people to platinum my games." It's honestly crazy. But you do get the first trophy of the game in the intro from collecting all of the comics needed to progress the story. Now right after that, when you go interact with this elevator to get to the upper floor of the event, you also do get a trophy for just making it there for some odd reason. Captain America is then down on the stage just doing Steve Rogers things and talking like a man from the 1940s who got frozen for a century. Thankfully, Iron Man just comes flying in like the Chad he is with AC/DC music, and he saves us all from falling asleep. However, off in the distance right after that, the bridge exploded. Talk about timing, am I right? So yeah, then the rest of this intro mission had us literally playing as every Avenger and battling enemies on the bridge, which is now a complete war zone. I understand interhighway travel is essential to the flow of a nation, but seriously, taking out one bridge is not the end of the world. I don't get the commotion. But when I was playing as Hulk, I apparently got 10 kills within one heroic move, and that was a trophy, so let's go. Oh yeah, and somehow Steve was up in the shield helicarrier now. We don't know how he got up here. Probably teleportation, but a bunch of enemies also just appeared in the ship for us to fight, of course. And I also discovered Steve had this great move where you can just hold down R2 and then run into enemies with no consequence at all, which allowed me to easily get the first combo trophy of the day from a combo of 20 or more right here. After the Captain America fight section though, we went back to the bridge area and saw that the mastermind behind all of this is Taskmaster. It then finally lets us play as Black Widow, and Lord have mercy, I found my favorite character in the game. This is gonna be an issue. Then the game also let Black Widow, or rather made her, just 1v1 the boss. Kind of an odd choice, you know. Personally, I would have put anyone else against him, seeing as Black Widow has no powers aside from being genetically blessed. God damn. Oh yeah, and remember when I said this whole Avengers event was about their new power source unveiling? Yeah, that's why this is all happening if you couldn't guess. And that same power source also imploded on the ship and it blew up with Captain America in it. The ship then fell and sunk in the harbor, infecting, well, everything. That was then the end of the intro chapter, and we got a little comic kind of recap of the events that unfolded after. That being with the Avengers all getting put to trial for their crime on humanity, which was infecting the harbor that then actually infected all of the citizens. I know, crazy. But it wasn't just a little flu, oh no, it instead gave people superpowers. Some had it worse off than others, as you could guess. And one of those people that got infected with powers was indeed Kamala. That was so unexpected, oh my goodness. So yeah, now in the real game we are playing as her, and this entire game's goal and plot, by the way, is to have her regroup the Avengers back into a team and take down the evil people in control of everything. The evil people are this guy, by the way, MODOK. Horrible feature in the movies, but that's old news. Anyways, the first mission as Kamala had us trying to meet up with someone in the park, but they didn't show, and then we had to sneak out of the city because we were then getting chased by the robots that hunt superheroes down, so that's neat. And upon reaching a bus to get out of town, we got another trophy from the story. And that bus took us out into a completely different area of the world, and this is where Kamala believed the shield helicarrier to be residing in, also where she thought the resistance was at. And she was right about the shield carrier being there, which gave me a trophy upon finding it. However, we would be a bit disappointed since there was no resistance present in the area. But Bruce Banner's horny green man was here, and he tried to eat us. No more Friday for the Hulk, so we don't judge. We tried to get him to help us, but he didn't want to, so then we just had to leave. But a bunch of these enemies called riot bots just spawned in, camping our exit, and there was a giant battle. In the giant battle, Kamala also got given her ultimate ability, which makes her grow from flaccid and small to big and hard. Shout out the male genitals. But after all the excitement, she kind of died off and then passed out. That's some real shit.
That's what I'm saying.
So Bruce, being the nice guy he truly is, brought us back in to look at us and make sure we didn't just die. This also gave him a chance to not be the Hulk and to be Bruce again. While doing so, we also convinced him to come and help us get the Avengers back together, so that's mission complete and I got another trophy. Now we've been getting a surprisingly large amount of trophies for such little playtime so far, only being like an hour in, but that's about to change because I went like an hour or two without any more. And that's mostly due to the fact that we had a giant mission as the Hulk, who was, by the way, pimped out in mafia attire. I wasn't aware of your game, Bruce. Jesus. But yeah, this mission had us just going into an AIM facility and kind of destroying it a bit. The most interesting thing here, though, was us fighting Abomination, a pretty well-known ripoff villain of the Hulk, and we won. No trophies got given from that, sadly, so we moved on to the next mission, which was in a very differing environment in the winter side of the world this time. It also made us play as Kamala, so this mission sucks. But I got a trophy on it from finding 3 artifacts. That sounds hard, but it's actually insanely easy because an artifact is just given from chests, which are everywhere in the game, so that's cool. Anyways, as usual, there was enemies here we fought, but the more challenging ones were underground, and while in this area, I also got numerous trophies. Kind of contradicting my statements I just said about us not getting trophies, so just disregard that. But while fighting these ball-dropping enemies, I got a generic trophy from getting 50 kills with Assault Heroics, or Ultimate Heroic abilities, and somehow the guide creator put this in stage 5 of the Platinum, which is just bonkers, broski. I also then completed that objective a legit minute after and got 5 stars on it, which is cool, and with another trophy. Getting 5 stars or 100% on an objective in this game is determined upon time to completion and not having any team members go down. I also then just got a generic story trophy right after as well from finding the SHIELD protocols, which are protocols from SHIELD. The next part of the story then had us going off to find Iron Man and get him on board. But poor Tony is just living that bum life now after losing everything and anything he could. The guy doesn't even have any suits left. It truly is sad. Even more sad though, because AIM forces appeared to kill us all while we were here, and Tony had to scramble together some really low quality suits of armor, but once putting on the makeshift helmet, we got a trophy, so that's a W. The rest of this mission then consisted of us battling AIM forces while being surrounded in fire of heart and blood. Long story short, Tony joined us. He had to, it's part of the script, okay? We also did see the villain side of things, and good old MODOK here is getting a bigger head by the day, and I mean that literally. His brain is gonna pop soon. And since we have Tony now, we kind of did a mission just for him, which had us go back into the city and destroy one of the AIM arc reactors, which was also, as we know, one of Tony Stark's greatest inventions, so I'm sure blowing it up felt great inside for him. It also did give us a trophy, so I definitely feel something inside me now. That's probably just a Taco Bell I had, I'm not gonna be okay. Anyways, back to the wild of the world, playing as Kamala, we were just searching for stuff. Like, that was actually the goal, it was crazy. But I ended up defeating 20 different types of enemies, so that's cool, and I wasn't even aware that they had that much creativity at Crystal Dynamics Studio, I'm not gonna lie. Oh yeah, and we also found the Resistance finally, which is hidden in some place by the Pym guy from Ant-Man. And this outpost is called the Anthill Outpost also, so that's neat. Next up, Kamala decided to leave the safety of the Anthill Outpost in the middle of the night and go try to take down an AIM outpost by herself in order to save all of the other superheroes that are being imprisoned and tested on in there. However, while she was rock hard fighting, she just passed out, and that ruined everything since she got caught and brought in. What an idiot. But I did get a trophy, so that's fine. And speaking of fine things, the game then let us play as Black Widow herself, because she has been actually doing a lot of personal spy work and was in the same facility as Kamala, already trying to save the day. But yeah, playing as Black Widow is actually quite fine since she has boobs, I mean guns, and no other character yet has had that tool. However, this section of fighting lasted like half an hour, which was quite long, but it did end with a boss fight, and it was against Monica, who is actually the evil mastermind behind everything, so there's that information. We won, of course. I mean, plot armor, you can't kill off Black Widow, and got another trophy. So now we have Black Widow, Hulk, Iron Man, Kamala, just take her off. But we were still missing some more Avengers, and the next guy we got was indeed Thor. I personally love Thor. I think he has some of the most entertaining movies, but also in this game, he is super good since throwing his hammer knocks away enemies almost every time. But his mission had a lot of combat, and then we also had to make sure the helicarrier we were on didn't crash right into the city, so that might be a bit more crucial than punching a robot. After doing that, he then joined up and we also got a trophy. The next person we went after was then Captain America. I know what you're thinking, didn't he blow up in the beginning? Well, we would go on to find out that no, he didn't. Instead, the evil people behind it all captured him and have been doing experiments on his body and cell structure for the last few years out in space. I'll give it to them, that's some crazy effort. So Iron Man flew up through outer space like a Chad, and once entering the space station, I got a trophy. We then fought a lot until finding the captain, which gave us a trophy. But he has just been in a medically induced coma for the last few years and was very confused to what was happening, as you would expect. But let's be real, that's kind of hilarious how poor Steve has now been put under ice more than once in his life. The luck is just not there. Anyways, next we went back down to Earth and then got to play as Captain America, as would be expected, seeing as he is the most recent addition to the roster. But then then that was actually it for the Avengers reassembling. Although I think we're missing someone. Poor Hawkeye really got replaced by Kamala. Oh my god! There was a trophy, however, in this cringe Avengers Assemble cutscene though, so that's cool. But then it was the final mission of the story, of course, because we have everyone back, so why not just give one mission with them all? Who cares about story length is the motto, I think, at Crystal Dynamics. But yeah, it had us basically just after MODOK the whole time. We got to boss battle him normally for a bit until the evil guy awoke this giant stone creature from the depths of hell, or the San Francisco Bay. And then MODOK controlled it from within. The game gave Kamala all the spotlight, as you would expect, because she is the main character, sadly. And yeah, we had a giant fight. I don't mean like it was a big fight. We were actually just giant-sized. It ends pretty quickly though, with Kamala slamming MODOK's stone head into the rubble of the bridge that is no longer traversable. And that was it for the Avengers game story, so here's that final trophy, and now it's time to begin the Avengers Initiative, which is the infinite game mode after that just has us drop into war zones, as they call them. But these are literally just the same mission in all the areas of the game, so it gets old insanely fast. Some would say immediately. There is quote-unquote stages to this section of the game, however, it's really just a giant grind. I think there's like 5 mission-specific trophies maybe, but there isn't enough or can be done easily enough to really say that there's a stage in itself, in my opinion. However, the main goals are to just level up all the characters while also going after a bunch of strong boxes and stuff. It's overall just a mess though, so I'm not going to list everything we're going after right now. The first trophy I got during this infinite playthrough type thing was actually on the first new mission I did, and it was from getting a 100% rating on the mission without any team member dying. I then purchased an item from 2 different vendors in the game. Now this is considered kind of buggy because in the past it didn't track, much like basically every other trophy, but I'm going to spill the beans right now about this game's tracking issues. They patched them. Legit, all of them. It tracks correctly now with everything, so this game is no longer impossible, much like the community has said it is. It's simply just a boring ass game now, so that's yeah. Anyways, on another drop zone, I ended up doing 10 assignments total in the game. Assignments are these little like challenges that get given to you once a day from both factions of the game, the Shield faction and the Inhuman Alliance faction. Both types of daily assignments are pretty similar though, so it's not that different. I then began to play as a few different characters in the game because you have to level up all of them pretty significantly by the end of it, but for now I just reached level 5 with 5 different people for that trophy. I then got one of the most buggy trophies next from opening 100 strong boxes. And getting this so soon into my endgame cleanup was an instant sign to me playing that this was actually gonna work. I was a little worried beginning the game, of course, after seeing all the issues with it, but getting this trophy changed everything. A bit later on, I was then back playing as good old Kamala because I needed a certain level for a trophy specific mission, and she was my highest character at the time. But I played through a mission called a Global Offensive, which was a trophy for completing it. I also did it in under 3 minutes because it was super fast, so I got a double trophy pop right here. And that was the final trophy I got easily because then they began to get more spread out with hours in between them. The next trophy I did get was while playing as Iron Man, who I also chose as my maxed out hero for a trophy later on. Before that though, I broke into my 30th depot on this mission. I replayed a lot for grinding these action specific trophies, but breaking into 30 depots gives you this trophy and also a chest inside of all of them. And after grinding for a very long time, I got Iron Man high enough level to start receiving legendary gear more often and almost always from enemy drops. Once equipping all of the legendary items, by the way, you do get a trophy for doing that, and about 30 minutes after that trophy pop, I also got my 500th gear item in general for another trophy. I then went after another popular buggy trophy called Investing in the Future, which was said to not work. However, this is just because the way they describe it is quite weird. You have to fully upgrade any gear item, but once you reach a high enough level for this, if you don't have a lower level item, you can't exactly do that anymore because the max power level is 140. So you have to keep a lower level item. I kept a level 130 item and then combined that with a 140 item, making the 130 power item go up to 140. I know, that was a bunch of nonsense. But that does pop the trophy since now that gear item is also max leveled. It's very odd. I don't know why they did it like this. It's kind of stupid to be honest, but whatever. I did it and so can you. Oh yeah, and about 2 hours after that, I finally managed to rescue my 100th prisoner in the game. This is a very grindy trophy because you have to go to 100 different prisoner locations and save them, but it does track just fine and I got the trophy right here. I then started to grind for another accumulative trophy called Treasure Trove, which is again very popular for being buggy, but that's just because only one type of chest counts for this trophy. You have to open 50 cash strong boxes, which are these very specific shield markered strong boxes. However, there's a level called Stark Realities to do this on, which has one in it every single time, and it does count for the trophy. So you can just replay it over and over and fly there with Iron Man to do it faster. So I did that for legit hours, and then finally got the trophy pop. I might have also got excited below the waist, but that's personal. Next up, I went and farmed out the harm challenges, doing all of them. The harm challenges are this tutorial, almost combat training room that is used in the intro of the game to show you how moves work, but it also has this challenge part for a trophy that just has you battle quote-unquote harder enemies. It's not hard though, and I did it, so here's the trophy. I then went after that collectible trophy I mentioned in the beginning of the video. You have to collect 50 intelligence files, which is just a little collectible, but if you don't grab them during the story, they do become void, and you have to resort to finding them from chests, enemy drops, and also completing certain post-story missions, which became my method because finding them from chests and drops is insanely RNG and not common, but completing a few easy side character missions sometimes guarantees the file, so I got my 50th one right here after completing a Winter Soldier missing chain and the trophy. I also, about 2 hours after that, completed my 30th Warzone on challenge 3 or higher rating. This is just the 1-up from normal difficulty, however, so it's not very hard, and here is that trophy. I then finally completed the iconic Avengers mission chain. This was the initial post-game sort of thing to do after, because you had to go and do a bunch of little things with every Avengers character and all of that. Overall, it was actually very long though, which is why I'm just now getting it. But yeah, that kind of wrapped up the story more and stuff, so that's neat, and here's the trophy pop anyways. And this was then the point in the platinum grind where I finally saw that there was a trophy called Group Effort for reaching rank 25 in any faction. Now, doing this sounds simple, but to rank up a faction, you have to complete their daily assignments, which are only given once a day, and you can really only get 1 to maybe 2 levels from completing all of them. So I began to just log on once a day to do these and then go play some other games in my free time. In doing so, I also didn't record when I played for like 20 minutes at a time, so I accidentally missed these 4 trophy pops within the game since they happened when I was just randomly logging on. My apologies. But I also got bored of this game, by the way, because doing these remaining trophies is so damn long and just dry that I actually took like a 3-week hiatus from playing it, and the Avengers game had just been sitting in my library collecting dust. But I did come back, of course, and I got that Group Effort trophy finally from doing all of those damn daily assignments like I'm in school or something. Alright, so it's the final stretch now. The next trophy I did get was from reaching hero level 50 and purchasing all of the skills. I did this with Iron Man like I mentioned earlier. Overall, it's not very hard if you main one character over and over, which you should be doing anyway to get some of these missions done faster, so here's that. I then completed 15 villain sectors next, which is just another type of mission in the game where you fight a villain instead of like a normal objective. I did do this with some different characters, however, to try and begin leveling up everyone, which is a grind I gotta endure soon. For now though, here's that villain sector trophy. I then began grinding out levels for everyone like I just said, and that went on for hours upon hours, which was so boring. And it was so boring actually that I went and put a Warzone on challenge 4 difficulty to really feel something again. And in doing this while getting a 100% rating, which is actually kind of hard to do, I got another trophy, so that's a W. So yeah, I went back to leveling again. My method was to just level people to 20 and then move on to the next character, because obviously getting levels gets harder the higher you go, because XP gets more and more and more. But ultimately I would get the trophy, I think, before I even got to 250 levels. I'm not sure if my math is wrong, which it probably is, but I thought I still needed 10 more levels on a character, and I guess not. So the trophy just kind of popped unexpectedly, which I'm not complaining about, I just didn't think I was quite there. So with that trophy out of the way, thank God, I can finally go back to just maining Iron Man, who is my favorite and I think the best character. My 2 remaining trophies are both relating to the Hive missions. Hives are the most annoying mission type in the game, might I add. I had to do 50 of them and also complete an elite heroic one. This is the hardest mission in the game. It has 14 levels in it with combat on every single one. And it also took me an hour to complete because it was so damn long. I did do it first try though, because I mean, I have the highest level character you can, so yeah, that definitely helps. And now all that is left is to do 50 hives. This is insanely boring. Insanely boring. I almost fell asleep in my chair playing because I had been playing for 12 hours straight on the same level. Legit, if it wasn't for the 300 milligrams of caffeine from gamer subs in my bloodstream, I would have passed out from exhaustion. But I did do it. There really isn't much else to say about the game or this trophy. It's just overall a grind and very boring. So yeah, here's that 50 hive trophy and the Avengers Platinum Trophy pop. That was the Avengers Platinum Trophy experience. Overall, the game wasn't great, but it really wasn't as bad as I thought it would be in terms of the main story. Obviously, the endgame cleanup was complete ass, but the main story wasn't horrible. It was kind of bland, but I thought it was going to be way worse than it was. In fact, if they just removed Kamala completely and then had more Avengers vibes, I think it would have slapped. So yeah, that's all. Rating it out of 10, I'm going to give Avengers a solid 6, just because it actually works now. And seeing a company fix their game completely, even though they know it's flopping, really speaks on work ethic, and I think that's actually pretty cool from them. But that's all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon with more. The LEGO Star Wars Skywalker Saga contains a small amount of 46 trophies with a massive 100-hour plus grind. This is by far the most challenging and torturous grind out of any LEGO game, and even compares to some hard platinum trophies in general. Alright, so the first stage of this platinum trophy is just play through all the levels as fast as you possibly can, because the time for the 1200 collectibles is unimaginably long after. Since the game is also about the entire Star Wars saga, it has every single movie as each level in the game. You can start from different places in the movies, but I chose to begin with episode 1. Mostly because I'm not weird. This episode opens up with an intro into the game, and it gives you a tutorial actually, because all good games do. And this is also like meant for kids, I think. I mean, it's LEGO for God's sake. But all real men play LEGO games still. Anyways, you then follow a droid around until it takes you to a room which is poisoned right after in an assassination attempt. This reminds me so much of November 1963. But the rest of this section then just had us escape the Trade Federation ship, and we ended up back on soil, thank God. Also, Jar Jar Binks is here, and if you don't love this man, there is something wrong with you. He also brings us down to the underwater cities so we can get help from them. And they tell us to just drive this ship straight through the core of the planet. While doing this, we also got chased nearly to death by a giant sea monster, which is a tragedy. And I also got my first trophy here for just gathering 17,000 studs, which isn't much at all in comparison to the bank I bring home. A little while later on this first episode, I also completed all of the challenges for it, which give you a few Kyber bricks each level. That also adds into the massive 1200 in the end. But for now, I just got a trophy. The rest of this first episode then had us escort the queen all over creation until ending up at her ship so we could escape the planet. After, we also got to meet the legend Anakin Skywalker and do a pod race, which was like oddly fun as hell, and it makes me mad that there was only one in the entire game. Missed opportunity, what can I say? But then the episode basically ends with you boss battling Darth Maul, which was sort of cool, but there was so many pauses in the fight that it felt more like we were just tickling his nuts the whole time. I did manage to rack up a 30 combat score, however, and got a trophy for that because it's apparently hard. Now, I've seen things that are hard, and this isn't that. A little later, we ended up beating Darth Maul, but this wasn't actually the end of the level, and we had one more super long flying mission actually. I also reached True Jedi in this level and got a trophy for reaching that for the first time on any level in the game. And during this awesome flying mission, I managed to finish it all the way through without dying and got a trophy for doing just that. I then watched a few cool cutscenes for the plot and received the episode 1 trophy. So now it's time to play episode 2, you know, as you do. This one was quite a bit more complex than the first one though, and had us swapping back and forth between characters and even storylines much more. It began with us chasing down a bounty hunter on a massive chase throughout the city, and after that, Obi-Wan then left Anakin to go investigate a cloning facility. Always hate when that happens. And then there was a massive fight in space, which this game somehow manages to make space combat amazing yet awful at the same time. We also got stuck in a robotic processing center, which I could have swore to God this is what the most normal Amazon warehouse looks like. But then the episode basically ends with everyone just cock out battling it inside of this Coliseum-esque place. Low-key, this fighting sequence was a banger. Pure cinema. Also, I forgot there was a boss battle against Count Dooku as well. Sadly, he got plot armor today. And then the trophy for episode 2 popped. Alright, so episode 3 then began, and it immediately threw us into the action with the simple objective of finding Chancellor Palpatine. But when we got there, Count Dooku was there again, and we got to fight the guy again. Low-key nostalgic, considering we just did that 34 seconds ago. But this time we actually managed to defeat him. And then we actually got to battle General Grievous right after, and this episode consisted of just fighting the whole time, which was actually a lot of fun. Aside from when Order 66 got activated and they then tried to eliminate everyone. Even after that though, we then got to battle Darth Sidious and also Anakin for like an hour, so that's cool. This episode then ends with you obviously taking out Anakin and him transforming into big bad boy Darth Vader. And if you didn't know that happens already, I'm so sorry for your loss. But there is another trophy pop right here. Alright, episode 4 now, and we get to play as new characters. Woo, round of applause. I know. And maybe there will even be some incest, who knows. Sadly, this episode was super boring and I kinda wish it didn't exist. But we finally reached a fun part and got to play as Daddy Han Solo, just exterminating the masses around us. Anyways, after all that fun, I finally managed to get a triple kill with an explosion, which was a trophy because why not? A little bit later, I also got a trophy since my aim is absolutely superb, and it was for getting 50 headshot kills. Sadly, right after, my game crashed, and this actually happened a lot during my playthrough, which kind of sucks. The rest of this episode then just had us battle a trash monster and not your mother. And also, we got to blow up the Death Star, which was fun, and I'd do it again. But then the trophy popped for that episode also, which is cool. So the next episode then had us play on Hoth for a ridiculous amount of time, and I even began to get cold. There was a battle against the Empire here though, and taking down these walkers was like unironically hard. Primarily because the steering mechanics in this game are just complete and utter balls, and really make me appreciate other LEGO Star Wars games with superior flying. Hate me for it, I dare you. Speaking of flying, we also got to go back into space, and then after that we swapped over to play as Luke and had Yoda cosplay as our backpack. Kinda thought it was a little weird. Even more weird though is when we had a full-fledged battle with Darth Vader within the mind. Those shrooms go hard, no cap. After all that fun though, we got to play as Leia, and the game just made us do a ton of puzzles playing as her. Way to nerf what could have been a great time. But then the final part had a huge battle with Darth Vader that also included us hiding in fear and pissing our pants during it. But after that, it was the end of the episode and we got another trophy for completing it. So in the next episode, it opened up with a battle against this creature. Whatever it's called, I don't even know, although it does tell me. And after that, we got the battle as Leia, but the shirtless one, so no matter what happens next, we're having a good time. I then got to race around in the forest, and I'm shocked there isn't trees everywhere just for us to run into. But it ended with us hopping into a little walker and then getting to blow up stuff. After that, we then got to fight Darth Vader again to end the day, and it was even more fun than the first time. But it ends with the end of the episode, and then we got a trophy. And then we landed on another episode like usual, but this time it was the Force Awakens one, and sadly it was like identical to the game I just made a video on, so I don't really want to talk about it, but here's the trophy for the episode. And then the next episode began, and we are reaching near the end of these, thank God. But this one primarily consisted of us just tailing around old Luke Skywalker the whole time. Honestly, it got a little bit weird how much we did just follow him, and I honestly feel bad for the guy. He probably wanted to press charges on stalking, but he can't because there's no government out in the wildlands. Thankfully, after a while, we did get to swap over and play as Kylo Ren and do evil things to balance out with the wholesome stalking. And we also swapped over to play as Finn in this same place and had an absolutely massive battle with Captain Phasma, I think, who is basically this girl that harasses Finn all the time because she has a crush on him. But this fight was actually one of the best in the game, and I'm not even joking. Like, it was so good, nothing else even happened of significance in this story, and then the episode's trophy popped. But the next episode then had us begin with action, thank the Lord. And we fought TIE fighters for endless distance underground. I'm not really sure how this is even possible, but then again, it is just a video game, so anything is. Next, we got to play as Rey and Chewbacca actually, and stuck around behind enemy lines until having a full-on boss battle with Kylo Ren again. And then another one with the evil BB-8 droid, which after beating actually ended up being the final part of the episode. And that was actually the end of the story completely, and we got 2 trophies. Alright, so now that the story is finished, it's time to begin the worst part of this platinum trophy. The 1200 collectibles. And it literally just consists of getting 100% on every single planet and also 100% on every single level, but I'm saving that for the end. The first planet I did was that one from the first episode, and this opened my eyes immediately to the horrible grind this game truly is. Each planet has around 20 to 40 Kyber bricks in it with a few characters added on, and usually 1 extra to collect. The objectives are, fun, you know, the first time you do it, but after that they all blend into the same thing and it actually begins to get quite repetitive. This is my nice way of saying I think I have dementia from doing the same thing in this game for 50 hours straight. That's what I'm saying. But on this first planet, I chose to do one part of it called Feed to begin with. Anyways, I was pretty much just super lost with what the hell is going on in the game because doing the cleanup raw like this is just a horrible idea. But I spent 2.5 hours doing this, like, I'm not even kidding. And I didn't even finish it because another very annoying thing is when the objectives in the game don't work or even appear since they still need to be unlocked from other random planets. And not knowing this at the start of the grind was super confusing because I thought something was just wrong with me not being able to find them. But after realizing I should probably just move on to other planets and come back later once it was possible to do this planet, I chose to head to Lake Pagano, which is the other side of Naboo that I am on. Now this one is a little bit weird because you start on land obviously and still have a few things to collect here and there, but the majority of pain and agony resides underwater in the underwater city part, which also has collectibles to get that do count for the Lake Pagano area overall. Now that I think about it, I really did pick like the absolute worst first planet to clean up, so that's unfortunate. But I did get to also experience one of my first multi-planetary side missions, making me go from Naboo to Tatooine to Genesis, I feel like I just murdered all of those, and then to Coruscant, all just for one of these damn Jar Jar Binks wannabes. I then decided to do Tatooine's planet next because it is one of the most iconic in the game. And I did a little bit better with finding stuff on this one. But these all just take so long to do, it's crazy. And I'm not even sure why, because you can literally see all the collectibles on the map and during the game. But I did finally discover you can go through and buy each rumor, so then the collectibles get marked and stuff if they aren't already, which comes in extremely handy in the future. Anyways, a little bit later, I was doing a smuggling mission for some side mission and ended up eliminating 100 TIE fighters total, which is bound to happen no matter what with this game. But there is a trophy for it anyways. I then headed back to Tatooine and did some side quests for the iconic band there, which was cool. But once I went into space, I ran into one of my first ever encounters with the giant Imperial ships that just spawn into existence to hurt your feelings. These are a random world event as far as I know, and they are also one of the most annoying because they take forever to complete. First, you have to lower the defenses to 0, and then you get to go inside and also fight people all over the place, just so you can reach the final boss fight and beat the captain, which also takes forever to do. But in the end, they ask you to buy it, and this also makes you feel poor, so overall, it's not a great experience. And then a few hours later, after I cleared a few other planets somewhat, I managed to fully clear out both Kashyyyk and Kikami for a trophy finally. Also, sorry if I just butchered those made-up word pronunciations. It's not my fault, they're just weird. But then the next trophy I got was called the Interior, which is gotten from clearing Coruscant, Jakku, and Takadona. And doing all of that took me 6 more hours to do. So yeah, I sort of wish I could have spent that time differently. In fact, I could name like at least 23 other things to spend 6 hours on that would have been more fun. But I did get the trophy for it, so here you go. I then did all the events on Kamino, and after I finished this neat little force puzzle right here, the trophy for that popped. I then headed back to Tatooine because I apparently hadn't finished it up to 100% quite yet. This is because most of the side missions needed other things to activate them first, and I had no clue what to do to get them going. But I ended up doing every single faulty droid mission here. This was a side mission line that had us rescue or sort of capture depending on your point of view all of these droids that escaped captivity from the Jawas. And after capturing them all, there is then a mission which is the final one where they just all escape and run away. So then you have to go chase them all down again and also battle them all to the brink of death. God, I feel like Sisyphus right now. But here's the trophy. And after about an hour and a half later, I actually did finish Tatooine and even finished Genesis as a matter of fact, which then popped me the trophy for completing the Arcanus sector. And since I've sort of been popping around randomly doing this cleanup across the galaxy, I also managed to complete all the planets inside the trailing sectors and only about an hour later than the last trophy pop, which was great and I felt super happy for a second. But then I remembered we aren't even halfway to finishing the platinum and I cried a little bit more. Next trophy I got is called New Territories. This one is for finishing the planets called Cantonica, Yavin 4, we don't talk about the first 3, and also Ajin Kloss. I don't know what any of these are aside from that they have lots of collectibles and I think I'm now dead inside. Also, the final objective I had to do before the trophy popped was literally one of the most annoying ones in the game. It has the simple objective of just finding 10 of these cursed ass lizard things. But bro, they are so small and this game has so much going on that even my ADHD ass couldn't find them within the midst of confusion spinning around in circles like a bad habit. So shout out to the video game guide YouTubers for coming in clutch, I love you. Anyways, there's the trophy pop right here. Next trophy up on the pain list of endless pain is called Greater Javin. Anyways, it's gotten for clearing Bespin, Crate, and Hoth. Now I know one of those from the movies and you probably know which one, but at this point in the grind for the game I'd sort of gotten the hang of how to do things in a somewhat fast way, making getting this trophy less painful than the other ones before it in terms of confusion. But don't you worry, it still took me 5 more hours from the last one, so that's amazing. I love slowly dying inside more and more. And I then just did another trophy in relation to planet completion called Western Reaches, except this time it's with Dagobah, Mustafar, which I swear to god I knew a guy named that one time, and also Utah Poo or something, I don't know how to say it. But yeah, it's literally the same concept as the last 10 trophies, and I'm honestly so bored of this cleanup. Alright, I then did another trophy called Gonk. This one actually isn't about planet completion though, and it's gotten from completing all of the Gonk droid escort missions, which by the way are one of the most boring and horrible missions in the game, and I now see why they made this a trophy, primarily because it just sucks doing these missions over and over. Also, just in general doing escort missions, especially when in space, they're just so dragged out, and you get to do them like 40 times, so that's awesome. Anyways, there's the trophy pop. Alright, so I'm not gonna dilly-dally around the point anymore because I'm honestly so sick of this game, I don't even want to edit this video about it anymore. But I kept on cleaning up the galaxy as you do, and I managed to finish every single race right here. These were actually quite fun and a few were super hard. However, the majority of them are simple and shouldn't be much of a challenge to complete. And then I was on the final planet in my game that had still yet to be completed. Endor. While here, I found the last data card, which are like the red brick extras in this game, and then a few minutes after I also just completely finished it, and in turn I got 2 trophies for the region specific one and entire galaxy's completion. And it was then the dreaded last step of the game. I now have to replay the entire game's story levels again and also just do a few random trophies after that. Honestly, replaying each level didn't take horribly long at all since I had everything I needed to do it, so I got a trophy right away for finding every single mini kit on a level. And you also don't need to get 100% completion in the game for the platinum, but you do need to find at least 1,000 Kyber bricks to get this trophy right here. Multiple hours later, I also got True Jedi in every single level, which isn't hard at all with the amount of stud multiplayers I had on my person. And then on that same level, I also finished every single challenge in every single level, and also collected every single mini kit in addition. So that is it for the replaying of stuff essentially, but since this game is like unreasonably long, I still had multiple more hours left. First, I bought every single character, which was insanely annoying, especially the capital ships. And I then real fast bought every single upgrade, which was 2 trophies. And I'm not gonna lie, I totally forgot this was a thing in this game. Like I never once used it. I then went around and did the remaining shooting gallery objectives left, which were both on different capital ships, hence the reason I couldn't find them before. And I also forced a ton of people to dance at once, all inside of this cantina, since the crowd was way too dead. And I then rode every single animal in the game, which was again annoying because you can't track it. and I absolutely hate when LEGO games do this, which they love to. So then the next trophy I was going after was the horrible goal of reaching 10 billion studs, I think. I honestly don't really know how much it is, but it just sucks. Even with a over 3,000 stud multiplier, it still took me an hour of replaying levels to get studs for this, and it was just overall a horrible experience. But then to wrap up the platinum trophy, I just had to wear a disguise 25 times, which you can farm easily at any point. So yeah, there's the LEGO Star Wars Skywalker Saga platinum trophy. Alright, so today I platinumed Dead Island 2. This is one of the many Dead Island games, but it's the newest one, having come out only around a year ago. And I gotta say, after playing through it all the way, this game is honestly a load of fun. It's a lot like Dying Light, if you guys know that game, except with less drama and more colors, so that's awesome for my brain-rotted sense of the world. But Dead Island 2 only has 46 trophies, including the platinum, and it takes around 30 hours to get. However, it took me only 17 hours because I'm just simply built different.
Damn, Daniel.
Oh my god! Stage 1 to getting the platinum is just beat the story, since there was 0 missable trophies and most are gotten within the story, or at least partially gotten. Dead Island 2 begins with a classic plane crash intro, but before the plane actually crashes, you get to pick the character you want to play as. Now, me being a completely average white guy, I chose to pick the other completely average white guy on this flight just to keep up with tradition, since we ain't trying to fool nobody out here. But once your character is chosen, it then kind of just jumps into a cutscene with the plane totally destroyed and the intro is officially off. As we all know, there is a zombie apocalypse happening in the world, and this intro scene just kind of teaches us the basic movements and combat like usual. But we did meet up with some side characters who actually play a huge part of the story, giving us numerous missions later on. I also, of course, had to then fight a ton of zombies. But after that little combat scene, our boy here was checking out some other survivors that might be alive. And sadly, that act of kindness was nipped in the butt, or arm, I should say, since we got bit in the arm. Now, obviously, getting bit in a zombie apocalypse is bad news because that means we are most likely going to turn into a zombie, and the changing process already kicked off, as you can see. Also, this is Dead Island 2 if you weren't aware. They let us know we aren't actually playing Dying Light, and I appreciate it. But then the game picks up with us just in Bel Air, apparently. No clue how we wandered here, but we did. And the first objective of the day is to find Emma, who is one of the people we met in the intro, and also has a giant mansion that we can use as a safe place. After a bit of wandering, we then strolled up to her mansion, and we immediately got a gun put to us because that bite on our arm is not really conspicuous. I actually don't think a band-aid is going to help here. I know. A tragedy. But while a gun was put to our head, essentially, we just kind of passed out, and then we woke up with our hand cuffed to a table or something. Turns out we are immune to the infection. God, who would have guessed that the main character in a zombie game is immune to zombies? That's crazy. Never been done before. Anyway, since I'm immune, I then got kind of used like a fleshlight by all the people inside Emma's mansion as a home defense mechanism, getting sent outside to just destroy hordes of zombies trying to break in. After that, though, I then returned back in to take a break from the manslaughter, and a Chad was here. He also has a gun, which means he's the boss now. Him and Emma, by the way, are kind of a thing. Once you go black, you never go back. That's something this one chick told me before rejecting me at a Walmart one time. Anyways, they're having relationship problems. I'm praying on their downfall. But then I got the first trophy of the day from finishing that story chapter. I then began more of the story next, and our goal of the game right now is not to protect these sad survivors in their mansion, but instead to tell the authorities that I am immune so I can be used for a cure. Self-sacrifice in the name of science is a great honor. At least that's what they say. And for the next hour, I kind of just walked around fighting zombies trying to reach my objective, and I finally made it to Hotel California. But inside there was a massive brawl, and this game's combat is super good, don't get me wrong. However, it's kind of hard here and there, but not too hard, of course, because that wouldn't be fun. So after I survived that onslaught, I then walked over to this locked door, and we saw a radio transmitting a message from a quote-unquote doctor. I also got a trophy. The objective now is to find a way inside that room to use the radio and talk to real-life people. I know, scary. Before that, however, we had to track down Major Booker because she has the keys to get into that room. And we also discovered that the military was dumping zombie bodies into this pool full of acid. Now that's one way to use taxpayer dollars, I guess. But we had to climb all the way up to the 3rd floor to find the Major, who was yelling at us or something on the intercom the entire time. Anyways, after quite some time, I made it to the room she was in, and something completely tore her apart. But the key we needed was still here, so that's a W. I then headed back down to the room we needed to enter, got inside, and also got on the radio. We made contact with a doctor named Dr. Reed, who asked us to come all the way to Santa Monica, which is where he is, for help, I think he said. However, in the middle of our very interesting conversation, the bride of the Trent twins showed up and tried to tickle my insides with her bulging muscles. I'm not gonna lie, this is quite disgusting and makes me question a lot of things about reality. The fight was also pretty hard, but I did win and then also perform my 25th finishing move right after, which was a trophy. trophy. Now, since we did what we came here for, it was then our objective to literally just head back to Emma's mansion in Bel Air, and on the way I performed, again, my 25th perfect defensive move for another trophy. Yes, Its Ilusion finally figured out how to parry in a game. This is crazy. Also, on the way there, I was kind of bored, so I just did some side quests real fast to both level up and give me something to do in a fast manner. There's also numerous trophies for side quests, but that grind isn't until later on. And one of those side quests was with some influencer named Amanda, who was kind of forcing me to just slaughter zombies in differing ways for her vlog. Logan Paul finally met his match, I see. But while doing the killing, I ended up maiming 100 limbs. I don't know how you say that word, but it's from removing 100 limbs from zombies for a trophy. I also just simply killed 100 zombies with weapon effects like fire, shock, and all of that fun. Anyways, the next main story mission that gave us a trophy was from us having to chase down one of the dudes from Emma's mansion named Michael, who kind of ran away from home back to the movie set like a bad little boy. But the mission to find him was 99% us just fighting absolute abominations, hell on earth of zombie creations, and then 1% talking to him, just to find out that he's totally fine and just wanted to chill in his trailer. What an interesting guy. Bro gets absolutely zero play, let's be honest here.
That's what I'm saying.
Anyways, here's the trophy from that completely useless mission. I then got to meet up with that dude that's banging Emma, and he also gave me a gun for the first time in this game. What a nice dude. And then we kind of just played COD Zombies, fending off the house from incoming attackers with guns. It was a lot of fun, but please don't make fun of my aim, it's not my fault. After all the killing, we then talked to Sam, which is this legend's name, by the way. Also, he needs to brush his teeth low-key, but he did give us a trophy, so W Sam. The story then leads us into the sewers to speed up travel and get us closer to where we need to go for the whole curing the world thing with Dr. Reed. On the way in the sewers, we also met up with a lad who I think has mental problems. Either that or he's just super socially awkward, but he wanted to watch a movie with us in the midst of all this nonsense going on. W friend low-key. However, we don't have the time for that as you would expect, but he did still tell us the path to take to get to Venice Beach, which is the next location. It is also not a fast stroll there, and on the way I fought lots of zombies as you could expect, ending up knocking down 10 Apex versions as well for another combat trophy. Once in Venice Beach, however, I had to fight more zombies once again to gain the trust and also access the safe zone of the area in this world. But once we were done with that, I then made contact with the military presence here because the military set up a giant outpost on the beach. And to get inside that, I had to yet again just kill a load of zombies to prove myself worthy, and it was actually kind of hard. During the abuse I endured, I also got a combat trophy like usual from me slaying 50 zombies with fury attacks. This is kind of just the rage power-up gained from killing zombies normally, but after dealing with all the zombies, there was then a fast travel that led to Ocean Avenue, the place where Dr. Reed is holed up inside of, and the man we are after, as we all know. Once I made it up to their safe zone, I was also confronted with a gun to the face like usual. I'm kind of used to it at this point though, let's be real. But Dr. Reed let us in because he's in love with our totally average white guy persona. Oh wait, maybe it's because we are immune and he wants to use us. Oh yeah, no, that's it, never mind. And as you would expect, I got a trophy from making it here. I did then take another little hiatus from the main story since I was kind of underleveled from zooming through it like we do. So I just did some side stuff and explored the game more, and I ended up getting a trophy from fully upgrading a superior weapon and customizing it with a mod or perk in every slot. Yes, I just read that directly from the trophy, don't judge me. I also completed 5 blueprint challenges next, which was another trophy pop, and these are a part of the challenge section of the game, which is kind of a big grind. However, almost all of them are able to get done within the natural play of the game, or at least get some progress with for later on. And speaking of challenges, one of them was to hit an enemy with a melee weapon from over 35 meters away. So I decided to do that right now, and it took a few tries, but mostly with luck I was able to do it, and it was kind of funny when I did hit the zombie with a melee weapon from throwing it so far and getting a trophy from that as well. Anyways, a bit later I was doing the main story again, and we had to chase down some dude named Bob for some reason. I might have forgot. It wasn't a huge story point, don't blame me. But during this endeavor of danger and heroicness, I did get a trophy from collecting 30 skill cards total. Skills are, you know what? I'm not going to explain skills. I barely understand them. There's so many. It's my only complaint about this game. Back to the main story now, there was a big part that had us chasing down a blood drive to test some samples and get closer to a cure. However, the blood drive and info we needed was on this burned section of the Santa Monica Pier, and in this burned area, there was a clown zombie, as a matter of fact, named Butcho the Clown, who was also just a generic enemy type that is endgame and endlessly annoying. This enemy type, by the way, can block your attacks, usually only takes damage from behind, has 2 massive blades for arms, and will also occasionally run away from you and go heal. So yeah, if that sounds annoying to fight, trust me, it f***ing was every single time you had to encounter one. Anyways, I did win against Butcho eventually. He was kind of dumb after all. I mean, he chose to be a clown as a career choice, so that's something. But then we did get the blood drive. I also tried to escape the pier from collapsing and, failed. However, like usual, our boy here just teleports, I guess, to safety. The main character plot armor is crazy. I then had to bring back all the info to Dr. Reed, as you would imagine, but before giving it to him, I just picked up a missing person quest from the quest board and actually got a trophy from collecting 50 journals. One of the few collectibles in the game overall. Dr. Reed then started yapping at me, acting like I'm a damn scientist and not a gullible white boy. But after he was done talking, I got a story trophy. How glorious. So the next story objective was to track down Dr. Reed's lab because the dude is kinda sketchy and we aren't totally convinced he's a good guy after all. And upon finding his lab, this is kind of confirmed because some dude was inside this very creepy testing area, and that dude also mutated into a giant monster straight out of the forest. Shout out the goat. Anyways, we had to fight the mutant as you would expect, and it was a pretty hard fight, but I did win. And then I actually got 2 trophies before our character started to kind of lose it and almost become a zombie himself. That is before being rescued, or rather touched by this lady, and then told that we are basically special like her and many others with that same power. Special needs, that is. But in this universe, they call it being a Newman, not handicapped. We then conversed with Emma after finding out basically that Dr. Reed is evil and that he just tests shit on people and isn't actually trying to find a cure. And once the beans were spilled, another story trophy popped. So it's kind of the end of the story now, and we regrouped up with Emma and all the lads. Also, we got assistance from our sewer friend who was going to help them get to Dr. Reed and the ending area, which was another story trophy for some reason. I'm not totally sure why. Anyways, we had to go through the metro to try and find a train because Dr. Reed and his boys also, by the way, took a helicopter out of Dodge. And the metro had an insane amount of strong enemies in it. So much so that I actually ended up killing every single type in the game and getting the Zombologist trophy from that, which is a huge W. I then found the train we had to take, and oh my god, this part of the game is by far the hardest. The sheer amount of enemies that come after you and the difficulty of them is kind of crazy. I died numerous times and it took me a fat ass minute to get past them all. But thankfully, no controllers got hurt in the process. Off the record, I've been trying to work on meditating more and seeing my therapist, Lana Rhodes, to help with my frustration inside. Anyways, back to the story. We finally met up with the gang, and we also found the doctor's helicopter parked at the Film Awards show, which is where this game's finale takes place, and I got a trophy. So it is now the final part of the story, and I made my way down to the doctor's secret lab, which apparently he has multiple of. And inside, we saw him kind of just completely transform into a monster like all of his test subjects. Like father, like son, I guess, or something. I don't know if that actually makes sense here, whatever. Anyways, yes, this was the final boss fight, and I died. I know, a shocker. Overall, though, the strategy I found to beating him was to just focus on him alone and ignore everything else around you completely. So I did beat Dr. Reed's monster version finally, and then the final part was just run and escape the facility because there is tons of zombies pouring in. Once done, we met up with the group again and they all got on the chopper and rode away to safety. I, however, stayed behind to save, quote unquote, save Trisha, who was Dr. Reed's daughter and is still somewhere here. But if we're being honest, it was because the average white dude here loves killing zombies and is a psychopath, so that's our entire life now. The credits then rolled, and wait. Here is the true test of a good game. Can you skip the credits? Yes, you mother... Let's go, baby. So here's that trophy from beating the game, and I also got another one from getting a legendary weapon, which was given from beating the game's final mission. Alright, now it is time for the post-story trophies. There's numerous stages to this section of the game, but to do it fast like I did and get over that 30-hour time limit, I would suggest kind of doing stages 2, 3, and 4 all at the same time. Now don't freak out, because that's actually very easy to do because they're all super similar and kind of coincide already. The first 2 trophies I went after here weren't from anything big, but instead the 2 co-op trophies, from just reviving a friend 5 times and then finishing 5 co-op missions. During doing these, I also finished 10 side missions overall, which was a trophy, and then I did do the 5 co-op missions next, which was another trophy, as I said. So huge thanks to the brother that helped me once more with this. I love you, baby girl. Anyways, I then actually started doing some challenges, which is a huge part of the trophy list, and I did one from killing a mutant without it turning into a mutant. You can tell the mutant in its normal form very easily because they always look the same every time. So I found one and quickly killed it before it turned, which is actually 2 trophies as a matter of fact, and I'm in love. I then got a trophy from completing the first tier of every challenge inside the weapon challenges list. My last challenge being from getting 50 kills with a bulldozer weapon. Very easy, and the game actually gives you a bulldozer weapon from finishing the story that makes it even better. For a few hours, I then just kept on doing side quests, which is kind of the main thing we are doing for the rest of the game in general. But I finished my 20th one right here for that trophy, and it was also a part of some specific character quest line, so I got a trophy from that added on. I then got the trophy from completing the first tier in every survival challenge next. The final one was to get 1 million cash, by the way, which it usually is for most people, but I also got a lot of help from my homie who dropped me some guns earlier, which made this come by so quickly. I then finished Amanda's social media side quest line, which ended with us killing her. The good ending. And speaking of side quest storylines, I finished another one which gave hope to some side character, I guess. Even though, let's be real here, we're No zombie universe ever actually succeeds in history. Anyways, I then completed all of the exploration first tier challenges next, which aren't that hard to do and mostly just consist of differing quest types within the game's natural progression. And one of those challenges was to open lockboxes. There was also a trophy for opening 10 of those, which I did right here and got. And speaking of lockboxes, there's two types in Dead Island 2. First is a normal loot box. The other, however, is a weapon one, which has a puzzle to find every time, and it's very annoying, to be honest with you. But I did find 5 of them eventually and got this trophy from doing that. I then got another challenge trophy next from the zombie challenges, which just had us killing zombies pretty much. I also finished my 9th missing person quest right after in the same mission for another glorious trophy. And there was a kind of long side quest line that had around 6 missions with one artist that she called herself, but I had to bring her zombie parts for her totally demented sculpture of them. But hey, we're in California, so I'm not even shocked. Here's that trophy. I then finished my 40th side quest right here from talking to this lady that gave me it, and I got that trophy. I now only had one remaining trophy, and it was from me just reaching level 30, which I was already at level 28 after getting that last trophy, so it wasn't too much more of a grind to get to 30. I did spend another hour, however, doing I think 2 side quests more in total before being left almost there and just killing zombies in the dark to get that XP up to 30. So here's that trophy once I did with the Platinum Trophy Pop added on. So that was the Dead Island 2 Platinum Trophy experience. I honestly love this game. It reminds me so much of Dying Light, which was a banger as we all know, but this game was much more silly and kind of laid back. However, at the same time, it was kind of hard, which is an odd combo to have, but I'm not complaining. Rating it out of 10, I'm gonna give it a solid 9. I'm not sure you can really find much better or make it any better than it was. So that's all for today, and there you go. I liked the game for once. Suck my nuts.